Hey peeps, I'm gonna do another reaction video. This time we're gonna listen to a fellow masshole, Lawrence O'Donnell. I love this dude. His wit and his sarcasm are sharp as a knife. So, okay, let's listen to this.
Today, Republican Senator Bill Cassidy said this about Donald Trump's Iran deal.
The details that I've seen so far look awful. This will go down as a tremendous foreign policy blunder. Iran ends up stronger. Our allies in the region are weaker. And Iran has learned that if they're willing to grab that Strait of Hormuz and choke it off, they can get the Western world to dance to their tune. I think it's a deep mistake.
Okay, I'm gonna pause Mr. O'Donnell for a second and just say something here. Big fucking deal if Iran becomes a player. Okay? Big fucking deal. We can't talk about another country's human rights activities when our current human rights activities are abysmal. We are literally holding, and I will keep repeating this, babies in concentration camps, children in concentration camps, innocent people, people who are legally here, people who are citizens are being held in concentration camps on American soil. And we're going to sit back and we're going to judge another country for how they behave when our behavior is abhorrent. We are literally committing atrocities on the daily, all over the globe and in our own country. And somehow Iran is worse. Okay. That's not true. And so if Iran wants to become a real player on the world stage, I say, let them. Maybe somebody needs to be a boot on Israel's neck for a little while. Okay? Because I feel like whatever this dude here is saying in this video about they'll be stronger and all this other crap, listen, I don't care about that. Let them be stronger. This to me feels like it's verifying what I believe, that in World War II, Muslims worked with the Nazis because they were on the same page about the whole we all hate Jews together thing. So they all worked together. And I feel like in some way, this is Netanyahu's like revenge for that. Because he for sure knows the history. And I also feel like I totally understand that Jewish people and other people could not go back to Germany and Austria after World War II because, I mean, the country was still Nazified and it just was unsafe. I totally get that. But why couldn't we take all the people that we needed to take out of there to keep them safe and just bring them here to America? Why couldn't England, the whole of the UK, take some people? Why couldn't Australia? I mean, all over Europe, why couldn't people help? Instead, we dropped them all in the Middle East in a very, very particular place. And I think the plan the whole time is, because why didn't we take them in America? Why didn't England and the rest of the UK take some of the people? Why didn't Australia? It's why not Canada? Why did we not let these people come here where they were safe and free, right? Instead, we dropped them in the middle of a desert where people already live, and I'm pretty sure we did that on purpose. The Jewish people became the Western world's guard dog, and that's why we give them so much money. I mean, why do you think we give Israel so much money? It all goes to their military. And that's because Israel is the Western world's boot on the neck of every Middle Easterner in that region. And how much will we lose? How much would the Western world lose if Iran became a player? Because I'm not going to judge Iran according to their human rights, because we have no room to judge anybody for human rights violations when we are committing them right now as I speak. There are human rights violations happening right now in this country in concentration camps. And we're worried about people in Iran and their government and their country and how they handle their stuff. That's their country for them to deal with. And they actually were dealing with it. And they were making headway coincidentally when this war started, or this invasion. Let's call it what it is. It was an invasion because Iran wasn't trying to be at war with us, right? They were minding their own goddamn business. So it's very crazy to me, the timing of all this. And I just feel like this was always pre-planned since like 1945, 46, whatever. This was always the plan, to keep the Middle East down. And to help keep Africa down too. I mean, all the way down to, I'm talking all the way down to South Africa. All the way down. I mean, Israel helps with that as well. And not to mention all the colonizers that are still there. They help with that too. So I feel like this was always the plan, that we're going to put these people here and they're going to become our guard dog in this region. And we're going to make sure they're comfortable and, they're going to get a fucking get out of jail free card for everything, no matter how fucking wrong they are. I mean, because we've been watching them commit a genocide against Palestine for how many decades now? And nobody does anything. So I don't give a fuck if Iran becomes a fucking player in the world. Maybe it's time to shake some shit up, you know? Because as you can see, the whole world can see, the whole globe, we are not the big dogs we thought we were. And I kind of love the humiliation for the people who are indoctrinated with American excellence, because there's no such thing and there never has been. It's just propaganda. It's all a lie. And all the lies are being exposed right now. So what this douchebag just said, this douchebag Republican who supports every atrocity that Trump wants, about we can't let Iran have this and that, and I don't give a fuck what Iran has. After what we did to them, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what happens. I just want kids to stop being murdered everywhere. I want people to stop raping children everywhere. I want the traffickers and the rapists to go to jail and pay a severe price for what they've done. So I don't give a fuck about Iran being a player. Who gives a fuck? Maybe if they're allowed to be a player and they actually interact with the world more and stay less insulated, maybe their politics will change just through a natural evolution. And if we let them actually evolve, maybe we wouldn't even be dealing with an Iran that treats women the way they treat women. We might be dealing with a whole different Iran, because if you remember way back when, it was different in Iran for women. They could wear mini skirts, makeup. Yeah, used to be real different for women in Iran. And then we fucked it all up for them, because that's what we do. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the fucking video.
Leading off our discussion tonight is Ambassador Wendy Sherman, who, in serving as Deputy Secretary of State in the Obama administration, was a top negotiator on the team that finalized the Iran nuclear deal. Ambassador Sherman, thank you very much for joining us on this important night. Donald Trump began his war demanding the unconditional surrender of Iran. What did he get?
I think he's the one who did pretty much an unconditional surrender. People ask me all the time, and I'm sure they ask Secretary Kerry the same thing: do you feel terrible about what's happened? And my answer to that always is the greatest hurt and pain is what Donald Trump has done to the American people, what he's done to our economy, what he's done to our democracy, and quite frankly, what he's done to the world's economy. I think probably at the G7, the leaders were glad that the Strait of Hormuz was going to open. Of course, it wasn't closed before President Trump started this war. So, of course, they want the economy to get better. But this is not a deal. This is not an agreement. This is a set of principles that require tedious, patient, complex, expert driven negotiation. And we haven't seen any of that so far.
Let's listen to what Donald Trump said today about enforcement of the deal.
Sorry, guys. I hate making you listen to him.
There's nothing enforceable in the deal itself. Is that correct?
Does it have to be? I let him know. I said, look, if you don't adhere to the agreement, I don't want to do that, but we're going to bomb the hell out of you.
He's saying there doesn't have to, exact words, there doesn't have to be anything about enforcement in the deal.
That's so naive, it's sort of stunning. You don't know whether a deal has worked, an agreement has worked, unless you have very, very good monitoring and verification. Back in the time of the JCPOA, we had the most extensive monitoring and verification, not only by our intelligence community, but by the International Atomic Energy Agency, including electronic means, including people who could go in any place, anytime, and see what was happening, people on the field, on the ground. So yeah, if your only answer is we're going to bomb them again, you may not even know when somebody is cheating on you unless you've got those eyes on the ground all of the time and really, really good verification and monitoring. You know, you said that the agreement was 18 pages long, which is true. That's the basic text. But when you add all of the annexes, which have all of the technical detail, everything from nuclear enrichment to verification, it was 159 pages. That's how much detail there has to be. And Abbas Arachi, who is now the foreign minister, was my counterpart in these negotiations. He knows every single detail, and he will bring that to the negotiating table.
Let's listen to what Donald Trump said about the economic catastrophe that he was trying to avoid by simply ending his war.
The one thing I didn't want to see is I didn't want to see economic catastrophe. If you kept this going, that could have happened. But all I know is every time we talked about the possibility of peace, the stock market shot up like a rocket ship. It never went down. They didn't like it. The people, you know, the stock market is more brilliant than anybody there is, including the people on the stage, other than me, of course.
Listen, just look at Marco Rubio over there. That's what you look like when you sell your fucking soul. That's what you look like. You look like fucking little Marco. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. And I'm sorry I made you listen to that fucking orange ogre. But anyway, back to the video.
That's the first time a president of the United States waging a war has referred to the stock market as the barometer for him about how well his war was going.
Look, he's talked a lot today about how he didn't want to be Herbert Hoover. He didn't want to be the person responsible for another crash. We've seen him all through these 110 days, usually on a Friday. He wants the stock market to end up. And so he says, we're almost there. We've almost got a deal. And then if it starts to turn down on Sunday night, we'll hear it again. Everything has been, if you just sort of chart this, connected to the stock market. Well, you know what? Even though people have 401ks, even though they're in the stock market, what they really care about is what their groceries are going to cost, what gasoline is going to cost so that they can take their kids on a summer vacation.
I'm going to stop it right there for a second because that's a sickness, isn't it? That capitalism has created in this country and around the world, that the American people care not about all the children who are dying in this war, right? They care not about that. They care about whether they're going to be able to take their kids on vacation this summer while children in Iran are dying. But who gives a fuck about that, right? Because I just want to be able to afford groceries and gas, and I want to be able to take my kids, take their asses to Disney World, while all those kids over in Iran and in Palestine and Lebanon. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care about them. I don't care that they're starving. I don't care that they're being maimed by bombs. I don't care that they're being murdered. I don't care that they're losing their whole families and being left orphaned. I don't care that the Israeli government is holding children hostage. Yeah, I only care about how much groceries cost, how much gas costs, and how much a vacation is going to cost for my kids who have the luxury of living in this country and there aren't bombs dropping on their houses and on their friends' houses and on their families' houses. That is a huge problem in this country and around the world. Any country that deals in capitalism hardcore like we do, it makes you sick. It makes you sick because I want this to end because I want innocent people to stop dying. And I want innocent people to stop being maimed. And I want innocent people to stop suffering. And I want innocent people to be able to live their life and be happy. And I want them to be able to change their government. And they were on that track. They were going that way. And yet, you're on a national television news program saying what Americans really care about is whether they can take their fucking kids on vacation. You sound like George Bush after 9/11 when he said, yes, yes, go to the malls. Go on vacation. Spend your money. What the fuck kind of advice is that to give to people who are traumatized? Yeah, go to the mall. Go shop. Go spend. Go feed the machine. Really, don't you think what he should have been saying is find community? Find your loved ones and tell them you love them because you never know what's going to happen. Anything could happen. Be with your family. Be with your community. Help people who need it. Volunteer your services if you can. Again, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And in that moment, all George Bush gave a fuck about was make sure you keep spending that money. Spend, spend, spend. And here we are in 2026, 25 years later, and she's saying all Americans care about. And that's why things like this keep happening. Wars and invasions and in concentration camps on American soil, because this isn't the first time that we've had concentration camps on American soil. I think we should look into the Japanese internment camps. George Takei himself lived in one for 5 years, and he called it a concentration camp. And he said it was a horrible, horrid experience for everybody. Yeah, so this isn't our first dance. It's not our first tango. I mean, how are we all to forget Gitmo and Abu Ghraib in Iraq, right? Torturing people. This is not our first time doing these things. And the American people keep allowing these things to happen because you people on the news keep telling us all we really give a fuck about is money, 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 money. And that is a lie, lie, lie. Because I know for a fact, me, myself, and my husband, we care more about the people, the environment, the animals, how this affects everything. And we care about how this makes our country look and the people of this country who are basically good for the most part. This is a sickness. When you are talking in terms of war, which involves death and destruction, torture and mayhem, and you're talking about 300 and 30, 40 million people in this country only care about groceries, gasoline, and taking their kids on vacation. And I'm not saying that's not a legitimate concern for every American. Of course it is. Absolutely. But I think it's time that we stop prioritizing correctly so we can stop these heinous atrocities from continuing. Because if you keep telling us the only thing we should care about is our money, 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 and not about the innocent people who keep dying in these fucked up wars of aggression that solve nothing, protect nobody, help nobody, if we don't start caring about the people and the damage and the pain, the psychic pain that affects all of us, whether we live in that country or not, we all live with this. And we don't have to live with this. We can be better than this. I don't want to hear that all Americans care about is money. I want to know that we care about the children of Iran, the innocent people of Iran, the innocent people in Gaza, the innocent people in Lebanon, the innocent people in Cuba, the innocent people in Venezuela, the innocent people everywhere that he right now is causing harm to. That should be our motivating force for wanting to get rid of these people, this regime. That should be motivation enough. So what you're telling me is this war would be fine with people if they could afford groceries and gas and take their kids on vacation. That's basically what you just said. So cool. Cool, cool, cool. Capitalism. So cool.